I was totally pro-fracking. Now I'm anti-fracking. I spent $200,000 on a manufacturing plant very close to the Delaware River, by the way. I spent $200,000 based on my belief in the gas company's propaganda that this little blue flame was safe. I didn't learn until later that it wasn't about the little blue flame, it was about the process of extreme extraction that produced that little blue flame. That process was the problem. Meanwhile, I'd spent $200,000 on converting from oil to gas. I'm stuck with gas now. I can't spend that $200,000 on a clean energy future. I'm stuck with gas now. We've had over 1,000 studies that indicate and establish the health and environmental consequences of fracking. We need no more studies that establish the health and environmental consequences of fracking. And it doesn't matter whether it's the fracking process itself or the related activities. It's all bad. It's all bad.
As I listened to people talking that I really wanted to share is the issue of this rose-colored glasses in the drilling area of the Susquehanna Basin. That's simply not true. We've had many speakers talk about the science. There's over 1,000 studies showing the harms of drilling and fracking. I have friends who had premature babies who've been born near fracking wells. We've had plenty of people with contaminated water. And of course, the Delaware River Basin Commission scientists have been out to the fracking region. The thing I think we need to remember is cumulative impact. We need to also remember the politics of things. I grew up in the abandoned mine drainage area of Schuylkill County. Anthracite mining was there. My grandfathers were coal miners. They mined, they did their job, but they were also farmers. We know the legacy of fossil fuel pollution is not a sustainable way forward for the future. We've learned that in Pennsylvania. Just a few weeks ago, the Department of Environmental Protection looked at how many miles of streams in the Commonwealth are polluted, mostly from abandoned mine drainage. 19,000 miles of streams are contaminated, a lot due to abandoned mine drainage. We have about 86,000 miles of streams in Pennsylvania, and 19,000 are impacted. That's a lot of legacy pollution. So we have the science and we have the history. We have those of us who born the sacrifice zones of fossil fuel industries. So when we hear API and multi-billion-dollar corporations talking about safety every other word, it's a sham. How many times will we allow that? It's time to stop. In 2010, we gathered in the upper Delaware. DRBC took a precautionary principle. But again, as so many people have cited, it does not make any sense, nor is it morally ethical for our fresh water, that 1% of fresh water on the planet that we have to keep using since the dinosaurs, right? We still have the same amount of fresh water. We have 7 billion people on the planet, and we're gonna frack with the fresh water or take it over to our neighbors in the Susquehanna Basin where people are suffering from drilling. And again, the cumulative impact is just starting. We just started this industry. We have over 1,000 studies. Geologists back in 2010 said to us the failure rate might be 5 to 10%. Well, the science is bearing out. DEP has had over 4,000 incidents where the public has said there's been problems with their drinking water. There's been over 1,000 studies from the Physicians for Safe Energy. TDEX and Frack Health Database have over 180 studies about the health impacts. So we need to stop drilling, and we do hope the governors will do the right thing. It is an election year. We're watching, and the world is watching. Ban fracking now, all of it.
So my friends and I are here to lend our voices to 8 million New York City residents who are incredibly fortunate to have such great tasting, safe drinking water from the upper Delaware and Catskill watersheds. The water is so clean, so protected that the city doesn't have to filter it. If it did have to filter it, it would cost billions of dollars. And this would be on top of the billions that the city already needs to maintain its aging infrastructure, such as the current $1 billion repair of the Delaware Aqueduct Tunnel. It is unconscionable the fracking industry doesn't have to disclose all the chemicals it uses. No one can know exactly what is in fracking fluid and in fracking waste. How can DRBC regulate what it doesn't know? We don't know the effects of water withdrawals and of so many fracking activities because the industry doesn't have to provide the data that scientists need.
Yet should we not use the precautionary principle when considering something as critical as our access to fresh water? I am sure that some of you are parents or grandparents, uncles or aunts. Climate change is happening on our watch. Visualize your children as you make these critical and very big decisions. We have seen time and again unexpected and unimaginable scenarios that do occur, and we can only control what we can control. You control what happens next. Anything short of a complete ban on drilling and fracking related activities, including water related withdrawals and storage of wastewater, would be a dereliction of your stated vision and your leadership. Thank you.
Pennsylvanians know that the water that leaves the Delaware River Basin for fracking will never return to us as potable water. The water we get back will be in such a highly polluted condition that we'll have no choice but to store it or dispose of it. That is effectively the unsustainable cycle the Delaware River Basin Commission is proposing in its draft regulations. The Commission must rethink its position and ban all of it. Thank you.
It is essential that we, as watershed residents, understand the impacts of shale gas extraction and why fracking must be banned completely. That means banning fracking throughout the Delaware River Watershed, banning frack wastewater import for storage, processing, and discharge here, and banning the export of Delaware River water for fracking elsewhere. One of the reasons fracking has caused so much harm where it is occurring in Pennsylvania is because frack fluids are so toxic and have adverse human health impacts that can lead to disease and to reproductive and or developmental problems for our most vulnerable populations, developing fetuses, infants, and children. For example, one scientific study conducted in 2017 identified 67 fracking-related chemicals that are routinely used to frack gas or that are found in wastewater produced by fracking. The 67 chemicals found to be possibly associated with reproductive or developmental toxicity and with the current drinking water standard include many compounds including solvents, pesticides, nettles, volatile organic compounds, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. Why is this a problem? Because those chemicals cannot be reliably controlled or removed before they are let loose to the environment by the fracking process. Science, through many peer-reviewed reports, informs us that these fracking chemicals move out of the shale formation and or the wellbore into aquifers and into the surface through several pathways. Transport, storage, handling, discharge are more of these pollution pathways. And according to the Environmental Protection Agency, this release and spread of fracking pollutants have contaminated water and will continue to do so because fracking cannot be made safe. Pennsylvania DEP reports itself that water supplies, private water wells, over 300 have been contaminated by oil and gas activities within the Commonwealth. This is in the watershed that some people today said are not being affected. So the only way to control this is to prevent the pollution. The only way to prevent the pollution is to actually ban fracking and ban wastewater imports and discharges here and ban water from being removed from our watershed, because when you remove it, you don't have it at the source in order to provide the fresh supply. That is the basis of the 17 million people that can get their water from the Delaware River watershed. We also need that water to replenish and make healthy the habitats of the Delaware River watershed, the wild and scenic river, and our awesome lands that feed that river. Thank you. Ban fracking, ban it all.